Hi, I'm delighted to be interviewing Clare Adamson for our Students' Association conference today. Clare's been a member of the Scottish Parliament since 2011. She currently represents the Motherwell and Wishaw constituency and is a member of the SNP, Scottish National Party. Clare's convener of a number of committees at the Scottish Parliament, including the Education and Skills Committee, so she's got a real interest in education policy. Before being elected to public office, her background was working in campaigning and technology. So I'm putting a few questions to her on behalf of OU students. Clare, thank you so much for agreeing to come and talk to us. That's really appreciated. And I know OU students, particularly those in Scotland, are really going to appreciate hearing from you. So we've got a few questions, if that's okay. So firstly, I noticed on your website that you mentioned your passion about education and particularly about STEM subjects, along with women's representation in those STEM areas. As a woman in STEM myself, this really spoke to me. So I'm interested to know, how successful do you feel that the Scottish Parliament have been in increasing the uptake of STEM subjects in higher education by women?
Well, thank you very much, Cath. And my passion comes from 18 years in the IT industry, industry I loved and had a wonderful career in before entering politics. And I've always been passionate about women's representation in science, having been totally fascinated by science since I was a young woman. So it was one of the best parts of my role in the Parliament is that I am able to take forward those passions in the work that I do. And as convener of the Education Skills Committee, that's given me a bit of leeway to look at what we're doing in STEM. So our committee has undertaken a number of STEM inquiries about early years education, about primary education, and if COVID pandemic hadn't happened, we'd be looking at moving forward and taking that further. And the reason behind that was because we do have an underrepresentation of women in science that's been known about, and many organisations are looking at how this can be improved. So the Royal Society of Scotland published their Tapping All Our Talents report a number of years ago, and that was published in the last session, during the time of the last session of the Scottish Parliament, and it identified some of the systemic barriers that are still there for women. Part of it's societal attitude, part of it is the leaky pipeline, where we know even encouraging young women into taking up science, they don't often stay. And I'm perfectly aware that I'm one of those who no longer works in that area and has moved into another profession, if you like. So it's looking at all of these issues as a whole. So the Scottish Government have had a big move on gender representation and gender balance, and they've introduced the gender balance on boards in an effort to kind of take the leadership and set the tone that it's no longer acceptable for us to have these demographic issues in certain professions, and that includes the ones where women are more represented, including the caring professions and other areas too. So that work is ongoing at the moment. They also fund the Young STEM Ambassadors Programme, and the STEM Ambassadors Programme, which is delivered through an organisation called CERC, who I'm the vice chair of CERC, and I've been a member of that board for a number of years, and they do CPD of science teaching in Scotland. And part of their role is to facilitate the Young STEM Ambassadors, and that's about getting young people who are enthusiastic about science, who are studying science, who are in their careers, and for business to engage with our young people and engage with the schools in the area, and really extol the value of STEM careers and how that will do. So there's a number of initiatives going up, but and we know it's still a massive area of concern. And I think going forward, one of the things COVID has shown us is that some careers are sustainable in a pandemic. When you look at some of the areas of IT, how important the life sciences have become in actually tackling the COVID virus. That I'm hoping that it's a horrible thing to take any positives out of, but going forward, it will have shown people the sustainability of some of those roles and some of those jobs and how important they are going forward. So the work is ongoing, but it's definitely an uphill struggle at the moment, and it's really important that we get voices like yourself, people who have had a career in STEM, coming forward and enthusing more young women to take part in these careers.
Thank you. That does sound very positive there, and as you say, let's hope we do get some positives out of this horrible pandemic. So I think you've answered my second question, which is what more you think is needed to advance this issue and what the committee can do. So if I can move on to my third one, which was, along with multiple election and referendum campaigns you've been involved in prior to becoming a politician, you had a background of working in campaigns, I believe. I'm interested in what you feel are the key points for successful campaigns to achieve their goals.
Well, it's a really important question, and I think for many people in politics, it has been a passion or something that they've been involved in that has come forward. So, one of the areas of interest I have is around safety issues, and that's from a personal perspective. I lost my niece when she was 14 years old. She crossed the road and was involved in a road traffic accident. And at that time, I was working in IT, and that sparked an interest into looking at safety messaging and child safety, road safety, all these kind of aspects. And so I was looking at the campaigns and some of the organisations that are there, and I think this is key, is when you have really good charities involved and charities that are promoting these areas, then you have a hook, if you like, to get involved in. That being said, in my career in politics, I've come across a number of people who have started their own charities, one in particular in my own area. The Miracle Foundation came again from the tragic loss in a road traffic accident of a sister, and her sister feeling that there wasn't support for children, bereavement support, specialist bereavement support. And Miriam and her family have taken that forward over the last few years. And I think that's the thing about the Ground Roots campaigns, is it's often driven by passion. All of the issues around raising awareness of cancers and things. It's about people who have been affected by those cancers, and deciding to do something about it. And I think that's a really natural, and we see it in every walk of life. People doing sponsored walks, the LS campaigns and everything. And what's changed for me from before I was a politician is that we now have social media, which wasn't in existence then. And the networks that has created has made raising awareness that bit much easier for people to engage with, and also people to coordinate and build and work on local campaigns. So it's something that I think is always born from people having a really huge interest in what they're doing, and whether that's a big global issue like climate change, or it's about my local primary school going for a plastics-free school, and the work that they can do there. It's really important, and social media has made the politicians and the policymakers much more aware and much more quickly aware of the tensions in local communities and where people have issues, and that coming forward. And I think that's one of the good things about social. Lots of bad things about it, but definitely one of the good things is that awareness, and that another way of linking together as communities to take things forward.
I do really think it's good that we think about the good aspects of social media. I think it's kept an awful lot of people going here as well. And as you mentioned, the ability to actually get things moving fast, connect with people with like interests and like passions. It's so vital, isn't it? So that's great. Thank you. So going back to COVID again, the long-term impact on the worldwide economy is obviously going to be dramatic and big worry for all of us. What role do you think part-time and distance learning qualifications can play in helping to reshape and grow economies back to full health over the coming years? And what steps do you think could be taken to facilitate this?
Well, I think the Open University itself is a model of how things could be for many institutions going forward. It's the Open University. I considered a passion for education, and that comes from watching my brother and my father going out to university together. my father is a returning learner, and who then went on to do OU qualifications, and my brother is as a new student at Glasgow University, and both of whom went on to do Open University courses to upskill. And my dad became a university lecturer, and my brother, now having been a microbiologist, now works in computing. So the whole interests of continuing education, of career changing, that will become much more important now because of COVID. We've already seen, unfortunately, yesterday, Rolls-Royce, one of our major engineering firms, announced redundancies in its Shannon factory, and over 300 people will be affected by that. So the opportunities and the need for upskilling, for learning, for having that available to people is so much more important now. And I think the Open University over the years, the models it has shown, and its own flexibility in terms of being able to pick up modules and take your time over your learning, distance learning for people, accessibility for rural areas for people with challenges like disabilities and all the rest of it, that has been, you know, at the heart of the Open University for so long. I think it's got a lot to teach our new institutions about how learning might be happening in the future. Everyone is having to move away from face-to-face large lecture rooms into distance learning using technology. And although, and even for the Open University, I know that's not an exclusive way of delivering education, because you also have your summer schools and tutorials, and, you know, people have an opportunity to meet socially as well through the Open University. That really a lot of institutions are now looking to that model to see what can be done. And I know our committee has been engaging with college principals, and I know the Open University has done much to offer support, to offer qualifications for teachers who are moving to online learning delivery, offering support to schools about how to deliver and use the new technologies, and also helping colleges and universities embrace and look at how things will change. So we don't know the full effects of COVID, but certainly our whole model of employment, our whole model of learning will have to change as a result of it. And I think, you know, the Open University is a lot that it can do to teach and help and support businesses and people and organisations as they go through that transition.
Thank you. And yes, I've been really proud about the way the OU has been reaching out and helping people who might, in naive terms, with regard to its competitors, but it's lovely that it was actually trying to, yeah, we're all in this together. Let's get it out there, definitely. And finally, how could OU students most effectively influence the Scottish Government and the Parliament's institutions, such as the Education and Skills Committee, to ensure that issues around part-time and distance learning aren't forgotten?
Well, I think there's a number of people who are very aware of how important opportunities within the OU are in the Education and Skills Committee. And of course, part of our scrutiny is about the Funding Council and about the Scottish Government and what we're doing. The fact that the Funding Council supports students in that learning process through the Open University is something that we have a direct link with. So the OU often contributes to, as an institution, contributes to the parliamentary inquiries. They are part of the University of Scotland organisation who represent universities collectively in Scotland, and take a really big part in contributing to those areas. In terms of the students, we are always looking to engage and reach out to our students. So in some respects, the committee's focus has a focus on wellbeing for young people right the way through. Obviously, the further and higher education undertaken by mature students is an issue for us as well. So we, the Scottish Youth Parliament, we meet regularly with, who contribute into it, but we also take soundings from students from across a range of areas. We engage heavily with the National Union of Students, who also have given evidence and do that. So it's really about encouraging people to take the opportunities when committee announcements go out, and we're undertaking in some inquiry work is engaging with the clerks, engaging with that process, getting your views known, and opportunities like today. Well, I'm absolutely delighted to be able to come and meet with you and be able to talk about some of the work that the committee is doing in these areas. So that engagement is keeping that going, and it's in some ways, you know, ensuring that all voices are heard. In terms of younger students, we have just undertaken the Scottish Parliament to embed the UNCRC into everything we're doing in legislation. So the rights of young people are embedded into legislation. But rights-based legislation is very key to the way we're moving forward as well. And that means that the voices of people from all kinds of diverse backgrounds and all kinds of challenges in terms of their engagement with education are really important to us. So it's about keeping that dialogue going and taking the opportunities when they're given to meet with committee members and engage.
That's great. Thank you very much, Claire. That's been really helpful and really interesting, and inspiring to hear all the good stuff that's going on. Makes me want to move to Scotland. Yes.
Oh, you're very welcome. We always want people come and work in Scotland or study here, indeed.
Yeah. Right. Thanks so much.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and best wishes to everyone.